that. We're going to remind you of this today, but I don't anticipate this being an extremely tough topic. So go ahead on numbers 1 and 2, and go ahead. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to just kind of get started on it, check it if need be, and then and we'll go from there. Okay? Cool. By the way, what does a negative and a square root turn into?
I.
An I, right? Is everyone good? That's where imaginary numbers come from. So when you see this, like 1 plus square root of negative 8, that'd be the same as 1 plus I square root of 8. And then you can simplify and go from there, right? Cool? All right, namaste. Let's do this thing.
Did you win? I mean, not win. Like, do well.
I didn't win.
Sorry
I
about this.
forgot to do like an entire question, and I finished so early, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so smart, y'all." All skipped up. And then I realized I just forgot an entire section.
I think I've done it in Navy, so like you're winning.
Writing paragraphs.
You may, yes. Again, numbers 1 and 2, we're just double checking those real quick. Going through them.
Or
Nothing. It was crazy. I recognize it because it was like two It's funny how she likes something. You texted her? I text her all the time. How long does it take her for like sometimes it's like 2 weeks. Just gotta be patient because that's how it's gonna be like with you too. With you.
What does I squared turn into?
Negative 1.
Negative 1, good, yeah. These are just some basic things that we're just trying to remember from last year. And as we go through this today, feel free to kind of get going on the homework and even complete it by today, okay? So some of this stuff might be able to get done. Just from your, do you remember imaginary numbers? These are pretty basic numbers, 1 and 2, in terms of like adding and subtracting. So like on number 2 is probably easier, where you can't add and subtract a whole number and imaginary number, right? So if you look at this, what could I combine on number 2? Like we'll do this one here. Good, which would be? 18i, good. And what would be the other part? 22 and negative 5? Good. So literally that would be my simplified version, right? Now in standard form, we'll talk about this in a second, Elijah, but in a standard form, we'll always put the whole number and then my imaginary, right? So that's kind of the form we use. Up over here, remember I squared is equal to negative 1, right? And when I do the square root of negative number, whatever that negative number is, that I comes to the outside and then we keep it as square root of 8. Cool? So pretty basic there. Just the only thing is then I'm going to have to see, is there a pair that I can take out, like simplify the radical, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. And then the second one on number 2, you kind of have to simplify the radical first and then combine all terms. Does that make sense? Exactly. Cool? Cool. Just giving you a couple minutes to kind of get rolling there.
So what is the second one and number 1? What's the answer?
Negative 4 plus 2i. Or, I'm sorry, positive 4 plus 2i. Is that what you got?
Do we have to distribute the I?
Which one?
We have to distribute the I.
Correct. It will be to both parts. Good. Good, good. Is that the warm-up part?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's exactly right. give you about 2 more minutes. And if you feel good, you can even go to the third one on number 2 if you really feel good below it. That one is a little bit tougher. Get some there.
How do you like that?
Yeah, you're right. Just what we could do is kind of like what we were supposed to do up here a little bit. We kind of left it open-ended as you see, because we want to simplify it, right? You know that? So remember in simplifying it, if I have like the square root of 8, I do the tree method. Some people do different methods. But I say, what are the 2 numbers that make 8 up? Pull one to the outside, right? Good. Good, good. Nice. As we start through this, if you already got these correct, you continue to keep working. I really want to make sure, just kind of to start us off, how we start the process. Today's lesson, I already said, is not going to take too long, but there are some things I want to remind us of from previous years. As we look at the square root of a negative number, many of you took that I out. What do I need to remember with this square root of 8, though, in terms of really simplifying it? Say that again. Sorry, yeah, it's kind of like factoring. It's taking out something that is a pair, right? Sorry, Caleb. So yeah, we're taking out a pair. So are there 2 numbers that make up 8?
4 and 2.
4 and 2, right? Good. Can I take the square root of either of those 2 numbers?
4.
4, right? Which would be
2.
2. And what's left over on the inside? 2, right? So the way that we would write this would be the 1 plus 2i, because the 2 came in the outside, and then we leave the square root of 2 on the inside. Right? Questions on that? We good? Elijah, I know you started on that. Did that make sense? I know we were kind of talking through it. Perfect. What about I squared? We talked about I squared being what? -1, right? So we know -4 times -1 plus 2i is where we're at. How do I then simplify this? To get 4, good. And then plus 2i. Okay? Does anyone know what form we call that? It's called standard. Why do we call it standard form? What makes it standard form?
Because the numbers first and imaginary second.
Good, Josh. I don't know why that's the case. I think mathematicians, like, there are a group of 40 or 50 of them that met together at Buffalo Wild Wings and just said, hey, this is what we're going to do, and let's roll, okay? So I don't know why that's the case, but it is, okay? Good. Questions on that? Anyone like B3 Dub or B2 Dub, I think? Yeah. One of my spots. I like it. All right, next one. 17 plus 18i. Are there questions on this one? You're combining like whole numbers and then imaginary numbers together? We're okay? Everyone's Gucci? All right, cool. What about the number 2b, the second one on 2? Need some help on that? Okay, perfect. The whole numbers, Zari, what would we get when we added those whole numbers together? 3, right? That's pretty basic. It's really what happens with that negative or square root of -8. What happens with the negative inside? Yeah, it comes out as an I, square root of 8. Good. And the same thing holds true with the minus I square root of 50. Okay? Sorry, a question, just because we were talking. Square root of 8, what does that turn into again? Good. 2i square roots of 2. Good. So we're going to say 3 plus 2i square roots of 2. Bless you. What about square root of 50? Any thoughts on what we could do?
5 root 2.
How do you get that?
You pull out a 10 and a 5.
Okay. So 50, we pull out a 10 and a 5 is what Kennedy says.
And then from the 10 pull out 5 and
Good. Are there any pairs?
5.
Yeah, 5. Good. Got that? What gets pulled out? 5, and then what's left on the inside? 2. Good. So we would say minus 5i root 2. Can I combine them?
Yeah.
Why?
Same.
And what else needs to be the same, Caitlin? The I as well. Good. So the I, as well as the square root, the radical, needs to be the same, making our answer what?
-3 minus 3.
3 minus 3i root 2 as my answer. Okay? Anyone feel like have any questions about that? Zara, I knew you said you had a question. Does that feel okay now? Good. Good stuff. Okay. Hey, real quick, let me take a quick breather. We're going to hop into this to where I hope that you get some of this done as we go through the lesson today. Okay? Lesson notes, I believe there were some in the back right, bottom right, or I think they were attached to 2.3. So if you got 2.3 notes, I think they were on the back side of 2.3 when I stapled them together. Couple of things coming up. Remember, test was moved. 2.4 is due on Friday. I'm not really stressed too much about that because it's pretty short. Okay, so just make sure it's due by Friday. Also, the polynomial project, how are we doing on that? We feeling okay on that? Grant, me and you will talk. Okay. It says project. Some people got it finished in 25 minutes. So we'll talk on that. Review is on Friday, so we'll do that as well. And I think that is it. I think that's it. Questions?
You podcasted.
I am. I'm podcasting now. So just kept it rolling. Kept it rolling from AP Stats through.
Did you do the
Thank you
third-
for reminding me. Say again?
Did you do this one?
The third one?
On number
Yes.
2?
I think we're going to get there in a second. Cool? We're going to get there in a second. Can y'all see this behind me? It's kind of dark, isn't it? Is it a little bit? I hate doing this normally. Can y'all still see if I did that? Or is that really?
Yeah.
Is that, y'all going to fall asleep on me? Yeah? Y'all like, yeah, that's good. Y'all doubt. Y'all out. All right. I think we went over most of what's behind you. Remember, I squared is a -1. And then also a square root of a negative number produces an imaginary I as well. Okay? So I think we're good on that. We're going to just skip right past standard form. These are just some fun jokes. I don't know. Some math jokes. Does anyone get this one? If you wear glasses, no offense to this, I wear glasses too, so this is more. 4i, you get that? Thank you, Mary Grace. Appreciate that. Although I've sensed some sarcasm in that. Thank you. Red laugh? I appreciate that. That's good. Red, you get tickets. I'm gonna give you seriously. I'm gonna give you tickets for that. Because that was genuine. You know what I mean? Like that was really genuine. I like that. All right, here we go. Let's go to the other ones. I would say these are very similar to what we just did. In fact, 17 was the exact one we just did. So I'm pretty good on that one. I'm not gonna really hit on it. The only thing I'm gonna say on 18 is what? Just someone give me a quick hey, this is a heads up, something just to kind of keep in mind. Got to distribute the negatives, right? It's got to go to both parts where? Yeah, on the right side or the second. Very good. And so just make sure that it hits both, and then combine like terms, and then go from there. The third one, I think this one was one that Thomas was kind of talking about, hey, how do we distribute this? If I were to say a couple of the ones that tripped people up, this might be one that we might want to really focus on. So let's take a look at it. 35, let's take a look at this one. 4 plus 5i squared minus, and then 4 minus 5i squared. What's important with this part? Good, and it doesn't mean that it's just 4 squared and 5i squared, right? That's what a lot of people do. We're actually going to have to FOIL this out. 4 plus 5i times 4 plus 5i, okay? All right, it's a little bit of a process, but you know the process, you'll be fine. So what does that distribute to? Someone take over for me.
16
Mhm.
40i.
20i, and then you already kind of jumped ahead, right? Because once I do 4 times each of these, then I can go 5i times 4 to get me 20i, and then 5i times 5i is plus 25i squared, right? Okay? Good. That isn't my first part. Cool. Kennedy, take over the second one. What would I do? Second part there.
Well, it's gonna be 16 plus 40i plus, minus 25.
Yeah, that's good. And you can, if you could do it in your head, I'm good with that. Just double check yourself when you're doing a test. So it's going to be minus, and here we go. We got 4 minus 5i squared. And then obviously distributing, we get 16 minus 20i minus 20i. And then what'd you say at the end, Kennedy? Like negative 5i times negative 5i?
25.
25i squared, right? Good, good, good. Okay, so let's combine all this together. What can we do to combine it? We can add like terms. What do we need to do before we add like terms? We could, yeah. So what does I squared turn into? Negative 1. Good. So this is negative 1 times positive 25 turns into negative. What does this turn into? Negative. Good. And if you can do that, just like I did, that's perfect. Combine that left side. What do we get? It should be 20i, by the way. Okay, 32. How'd you get 32? Yeah, so 16 minus 25 gets me negative 9. Good. Plus what? 40i. And again, I'm doing this. I know it's very monotonous. I think you know it. My big thing is I see sometimes people mess up. Just little things. Just wanted to do one. And then minus, what would it be on the right side? Good. Negative 9 minus 40i. Good. Mary Grace, what do I do now with this part? Good. Yeah, FOIL what? You're right. Good, the negative. That doesn't mean because they're not back to back, I'm not foiling this to this. You got me? Just be very careful on that. Again, some things that I see. When it goes to both, it'll change the sign to where this is plus. And then what do I get at the very end? I think that's it. Yes, we're good. Should be 80i, right? Because these are gone like a freight train, gone like yesterday. We got 80i as my answer, okay? All right, if you're good, say uh-huh. Is anyone confused on that? It's just long, really, sometimes, just long. I don't think the process is tough by any stretch there, okay? Cool, cool. Again, I told you to be quick, so we're kind of rolling through this. Are y'all okay? Y'all good? Okay. Let's go to the next part. Excuse me. Are there any ones up here that are on your homework? I was looking at this. Negative 1 minus, look at number 3. I think number 3 is the only one. Number 3 says, what is negative 1 minus square root of 5i? I like I on the front. It's the same thing, okay? What is the complex conjugate for this? I will give you 6 tickets if you know what a complex conjugate is in relationship to what's behind me on number 3.
Officers.
I think you were heading on the right track, but off on one thing you said. If you know it, you may not know the definition, but can you give me the complex conjugate of this?
Is it negative 1 plus minus 5 over negative 1 plus 5?
Say that one more time.
Negative 1 minus 5 over negative 1 plus 5.
I think you're on the right track. Josh, say one yours real quick.
Negative I plus, or negative 1.
Yes, that's the same one. Yeah, I kind of put it off to the side. It's the same kind of concept we're going through. And you're right. And that's exactly right. The only difference is the middle sign. So this is going to be the conjugate of this, complex conjugate, is negative 1 plus, or whatever the middle sign is that's different, times I square root of 5. Okay? All right, good stuff. Question. What do I do if I multiply those together? Or better yet, why would I do that? Why would I multiply that by its what we call conjugate? All right, before we go there, let's just see what it does. So we just changed the middle sign. Someone take it over, just distribute. We'll do this quickly. -1 and -1 make 1. Good. Are y'all with me today? I know this is a little like, oh, I know this. So stay with me. I get it. -1 times I squared 5 gets me. -I squared root of 5. Good. The next part we have is -I root 5 is going to go to both. So what would that do if it multiplied by -1? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? Except it's what, Josh?
1 or
I square roots of 5, right? But it's the opposite sign. You already saw it, right? You saw they canceled. And then what about -I square root of 5 times I square roots of 5? That's a good thought. That's a good thought. Question, what's I times I? Do we know? I squared, good. And then what's square root of 5 times square root of 5?
5.
That's exactly right. Good. So we would say that it's this, okay? It would be I squared, sorry, Grant. It would be I squared times, would it be positive or negative, by the way? Negative, right? Because there's one negative. So -I squared, because I times I is I squared. And square root of 5 times square root of 5 is square root of 25, which Celeste said was accurately, she said it was 5. Good. So what's I squared times 5? -5 plus a negative would give me +5. And can you see what that turns into?
6.
Good. Good, Kennedy. Because these are gone. 1 and 5 make 6. So someone tell me, what does a complex conjugate do when you multiply by its original? Someone raise their hand and tell me, what does it do? Okay. It gets rid of the i's as well as the, if it has a square root as well. Okay? So it gets rid of i's and then also our square root. That's there. I will give you 4 tickets if you could tell me where we would use this before we go into it. Where do we use complex conjugates? Mary Grace? And rationalizing is what again? Just remind me. Good. Or if i's are on the bottom or square roots, right? We don't like i's on the bottom either. Again, you'll have to ask the 40 people that met at Buffalo Wild Wings, but they just don't like it, okay? Easier, I guess, simplifying and all of that. That's what we're doing off that part, okay? Cool. Questions? I think that helps out with the one you had, Thomas, a little bit. With like multiplying?
Yeah.
So just, we can check that one too if you need me to go back through it, okay? All right, let's see what else we've got here. I've got, as we wrap up, I've got something that I really want to get to kind of towards the end of class. So here's the thing. I want to go over like 1, maybe 2 questions. Cool? So 1, maybe 2 questions, and then you all have all the tools you need to kind of attack the homework, okay? So I'll give you maybe a few minutes to kind of attack some of the problems and then ask questions if need be. All right, let's look at this one, 48. 3 over 1 minus I. To Mary Grace's point, this is something that we'll use as far as complex conjugates go to get rid of the I on the bottom, okay? Elijah, may I ask you this question in relation to complex conjugate, okay? What is the conjugate of 1 minus I? What was it over here? What changed from this one to this one? Well, the -1 stayed the same, right? What was the one thing we changed? That's fair. If you're good, that's okay. Does anyone know what changed? Yeah, the middle sign. Very good. That's the only thing. So the only thing that's going to change when I multiply by the conjugate would be the middle sign. So that would be, in this case, 1. What would be the conjugate? 1 plus I. Good. 1 plus I. But what I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. Good. 1 plus I. Cool. We're good? All right, good. What do I do when we get to the bottom side? What would that be distributed? Some of y'all are working on other ones, and that's cool. What would we be getting?
Oh.
Yeah, 1, we multiply it. It's good. 1 times I gets me I. Good. Good, Zaria. What does negative I do? Good, Ian.
Bonus I squared.
Good, yeah. Good, Zaria and Josh. So that'd be minus I squared, because negative I times I is negative I squared. So I's cancel. We get 1 minus I squared. Well, what's I squared?
1.
It's negative 1, which produces, and I'm sure that's where you're going, Josh. This produces positive 1, which then makes the bottom equal to 2. Good. Zara, what's the top? Yeah. Great job. Because how'd you get that? Good. Yeah, you just distribute 3 to each part to get 3 plus 3i. And you could write this as 3 over 2 plus 3 over 2i. Is that in standard form? It is, yeah, because we got our whole number, our integer. What's we mean integer? Our whole number, and then our imaginary number. Cool.
If we can simplify, you understand.
Yeah, if we could simplify, go ahead. So like if 2 went into 3, go ahead forward with that. Great job. Cool. I'm going to do this just as we go through it. Off the homework, you'll see there's a couple numbers. I'm going to turn off on the lights because I feel sleepy just there. There we go. On the back side, you're going to notice that there's a couple back there that are really good, specifically on number 4. Y'all see that? I want you to practice number 4, because if you get number 4, I feel like you got today. Okay? So number 4, and if you're really feeling good, go to the one on the top right. So 4B on the top right. On the back side would be one that would be a really good one if you're going to try. Okay? On this one, go ahead and do it as if it's two separate complex conjugates. Got me? So on the first one, multiply by the conjugate of 2 plus i, and then the second one, do 2 minus i. Cool. And then if you need to then get common denominators afterwards, that'd be perfect. Okay? Go ahead and try it. See. On this one, what I would do is actually work out that way to get you 5. That would work. It just so happened it worked out just before the process I would take is finally do the complex conjugate of both of these first. Get 5 as the denominator. You get 5 as the denominator.
I got 8 plus 6i over 10.
Yes, and then you can get the common denominator at the very end. But it worked just so happened it worked out a little bit. Good. Yes, the only thing I would say is 42. When you do this, when you do the 3 and negative 14, 11, just put 6 into both of these. Okay? And then say between 6x plus 3 and 6x minus 14, is there anything I can take out of both of those? You know what I'm saying? So if you take out a 3 and like 6x plus 3, that will reduce it down. Follow me? Yeah, sorry? You may, yeah. Okay, so on this one, so this, negative 1 minus square root of 5i. Okay, I like to put the I on the outside, so that's why I put that there, but it's the same thing, okay? When I multiply this by its conjugate, why is this the conjugate of this? What's the difference? The change in the middle sign. So if it was negative, it's positive. If it was positive, it's negative, okay? If you multiply the original by its conjugate, and you multiply it out, you should have no square roots and no imaginary numbers. They should cancel out, okay? So to do this, we're going to distribute negative 1 times negative 1.
14 plus 10.
Like, we're just going to distribute this one and this one, or what, okay? So what is I times, so these are the same, right? So this should be I squared 5 right here. I put the I on the outside just so I'm not confused. I and then square root of 5 because it's the same. I don't like how they write it because it confuses me. You said that perfect. No, there's 1 plus and 1 minus, right? Now, when we go to the next part, we're saying, what is I times I? When we do this one times this one, I squared. So we have I plus I squared, and what's square root of 5 times
That's
square
right.
root of 5? Oh, yeah, that's right. Square root of,
Wait,
good. So it's I squared to square root of 25. Okay? What's square root of 25? Good. What's I squared? Negative 1, right? So it's negative 1 times 5, which would be, good, so this is negative 5. Cool. Now there's one weird thing here, because this is right. When you did this times this, right? You get this. Perfect. You did that perfect. But remember this was a negative? So it's technically it's minus this. Which will do what to the negative 5? So this is negative 5. There you are. There you are. You see how there's just a lot of ways, like little things to try to remember? And I think the middle should be the same, right? One's plus, one's minus. I squared 5. You know, well, if they're the same and we're adding, like one's plus, one's minus, they cancel out. Now, if we were multiplying, you'd be right.
They're both plus.
I think this one was, when we did negative, I'm sorry, when we did negative 1 times this, it should have been a negative, right? So one of them should have been a negative, one should be a positive. How are we doing on that one? Are we good? Yeah? Check it real quick. Do this, Thomas or Caitlin, are you done?
I know, I have a question on,
And
Gotcha.
that's a question.
Gotcha, I'll be right there. That cool?
Can I get the bathroom coach here?
You may, Greg, yeah. I'm just giving you a second just to kind of work on that homework real quick. Maybe even get some of this done, most of it done there. Does that make sense though? Okay, so with this one, you're gonna use the same idea. It's a little easier because in this case, we have 3 minus I. So what would I do, what would I multiply top and bottom by to get rid of that 3 minus, or the I on the bottom? Well, you multiply by the conjugate of this, right? So what's the conjugate of the bottom part? Close. Okay, not the top, right? We don't care about the top. We're talking 3 plus I top and bottom, right? So you're gonna distribute 3 plus I to the top and to the bottom. Cool? Good. Boil it out on top and then boil it out on bottom. Okay? Try that out, see what you get, okay? Cool. And I'll double check as I come around. Yes, did you all, Emma, did you get that on that weird one? 12 over 5 plus 9 over 5?